So hello ladies. Once again, we're meeting this week. Happy to see you. Before I tell you things, can you tell me what's up? What has been happening in your head? What's been going on through your mind recently? If anything, in terms of teaching English and everything. So, any thoughts that have been on your mind? Vida, you're welcome. Yeah.
Actually, since our last in the first lesson, I have thought a lot about teaching English, and I'm constantly trying to improve my English by reading different books. And
please do read them, but aloud.
Aloud, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
If you can find the time and place for that, reading them aloud, it's so much better. Really, it helps you improve your speaking skills just a little bit, because reading aloud is like 10 or maybe 20% of real speaking. Because when you're reading aloud, you're processing the language on all the three major levels: on the level of sound, on the level of form and meaning. And if you're reading correctly and you understand what you're reading, then it's like speaking practice. I have tried it many times in my life, really, and I found for myself that it works. It actually works, that my speaking becomes better.
Yeah, actually, I have also noticed it, because when I read different books, I pronounce the words which I don't pronounce when I speak, and it helps me to, first of all, to learn new words, and secondly, to pronounce the words which I don't use in my daily speech.
Okay, good. So, working on your English, and what have you been thinking about, like in terms of teaching English, from the point of view of teaching English?
I have thought about your point of view that you said that teachers help people to think in different environments, like not only in Russian environment but also in English environment. And I think that it's very useful for people's development to think in these terms, since people can develop themselves and to be really versatile and broad-minded people.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Vita. Kate, how about you?
Well, first of all, I tried to remember all my English teachers and in university, at school, and I noticed that I don't know teacher who can be so inspired as you.
Inspiring,
and
yeah.
Inspired by themselves also. And it is a little bit easy.
It is, yes, but the good news is that you can be one of them. You still have a chance. You still have a choice. It's something that you can do for yourself and for your students of English. And my big question to you guys is, what does it take for you to be that kind of a teacher? What is the first thing that you need to do?
To become a teacher?
Yeah, to be that kind of a teacher, and inspiring, teaching life rather than a discipline, subject.
First of all, I think that you need to love your job. You need to love what you do, to love the language, to love people who surround you, all your students, and to show your students that you also enjoy the process of their studying. And I think that this way you can motivate them to study properly.
Okay. I agree with you, but I'm not going to say no or wrong, anything like this. I will add something just now, but very important thing to my mind, but okay. So, Kate, what do you think?
I think it is important to be crazy about what you do.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, 100%.
Yes,
but
to be creative and, never stop learning.
Correct. Agree. Still, you missed the point. I think you should have phrased it this way. If you want to teach English-speaking life, you should have it first. You should live it yourselves first. Because if you are not living here in Ukraine, in Kharkov, Ukraine, if you are not living their life, English-speaking life, so if you don't have regular contact with the people from abroad, whether in person, like you from time to time you meet Americans, you meet native speakers, and you speak with them, and you know what kind of people they are, how different they are, then it's really hard to teach real live English, not the language of books, but the language of real life communication. And but it should be your everyday, it should be your daily bread, meeting real English and spoken by real people, all on video, on YouTube, on other video sources, and you should know their TV stars, their well, just famous people, comedians or actors, and who they are, what they do, how they speak, what their characters are, and you should know their life and the people there, because you have contact them every day, because you need it. Just like some of our people, lots of our people, our population, they watch Ukrainian TV and they know the people, they recognize them, and they may even know some facts about their lives and everything. So you should follow their life. Maybe news, maybe radio, different TV shows, and like I don't know, House MD and the Desperate Housewives, whatever, stuff like that. Or it can be like talk shows, like Oprah Winfrey or Ellen DeGeneres and everything like this. But it should be your daily bread. You should live, and you should know what the weather is like today in London, because you've been listening to London or UK radio, and you know. And as for the weather here in Kharkov, you're not sure, you haven't come out yet, but you already know what it's like in London. So it is living, you should be living in two worlds. It doesn't have to be 50-50, it can be 20% there, 80 here, or 90 or 10, but it should be there. And this, you should experience certain emotions, you should associate pleasure. That's the most important thing. Pleasure with that kind of activity, with those kind of things. And then you can share it. If you don't have it, sorry, you can't do that. You can't fake it, you can't portray it. You just have to have it. And then all you gotta do is just share, just show, guys, look, this is what I've got. This is the road I'm traveling, just follow me. And you will inspire people by that. So as simple as that. Yeah, being crazy, learning, and all the things that you've mentioned, they're great, I completely agree. But you should have it inside, you should have the life inside you. And you will say, yes, do it like I did, or like I do. So, and I would like to encourage you, because back in the 90s I remember listening to the British radio, not understanding anything, and the signal was really, really bad. I couldn't understand, couldn't hear lots of things, but I spent hours, and I fell asleep listening to the UK radio, and it was like one of my greatest pleasures, really. Like English, oh my God, real English, not the English of books. So, yeah, it was my first and most pleasant contact with their life. So anyway, today I'm not going to start explaining, I'm not going to lecture on teaching grammar, not yet. Not grammar, not vocabulary. Still, our today's topic is pretty general, but it's a bit more practical than what we talked about at our first seminar. Well, I don't know. Teacher, student, lesson. Teacher, student, lesson. These are the three things that I'm going to talk about. Or one thing, or I don't know, three topics, three in one. And when people want to teach English, or when they have to teach English, whether it's just a lesson that they have to teach, or whether they have to choose a career, whether to do it or not. Anyway, the first thing that comes to their mind, I believe, when they think of teaching, is the actual action, like what to do first at the lesson, right? It's like, what's the first thing to do? What is the next thing to do? How do you explain this? Or how do you practice that? Or where do you find this material? Where do you find that material? So, and all these problems, well, I understand them. Yes, these are the things that you actually have to do. That is called work. It's called work, and again, I'm gonna focus on some of those, and maybe all of those later. But today, again, I would like to speak about the most important things that you should do, and they are somewhere inside you. But it's something that you have to be involved in, something that you have to be engaged in to be a teacher. Because, like I said, it's possible to do things, like your students can do things that you tell them to do without actually learning anything. I mean, it's possible to create a lesson, so-called lesson, with some activities, with some pictures, some text, some dialogues, some maybe music and fun and games, and you can create this wonderful lesson, and you will do it, and people will even enjoy it, but the result of it will be nothing. You may spend as much as 2 hours teaching something without teaching anything. Because our mind can be focused on the practical problems, what to do. And we overlook the fact that this activity is empty. That it's not teaching anything. It's not giving my students anything. And this is one of the greatest problems that I have seen in the classroom. Especially, it's one of the biggest mistakes that young teachers, beginning teachers, that they make. This mistake that they make. To focus too much on the form, on actually what to do. So it's fun activity, good. Let's do this song. Let's listen. And everything. And the time passes, and we have fun, but we're not learning. So that's why I would like to challenge you to always look inside your activity, whatever it is, whether it's a gap-fill activity, like please fill in the gaps. You have sentences, words, fill in the gaps. Translation, or answer the questions, or any activity. Please always think about this activity in terms of how many proteins there are in this activity, how useful it is, how much food your students will take for themselves, for their English bodies. Whether this activity will make them struggle with the language, will make them try to understand something, try to remember something, or try to develop a certain skill at whatever level. Because all of the things that you could possibly do in the classroom, all the activities that you may possibly engage your students in, all that stuff, it boils down to the basic 3 things. You either help them understand something, like you explain certain rules and everything and the differences, or you help them remember something, some words, by recycling these words, by giving them context with these words in different contexts, or by creating some association, some pictures that they can attach the meaning of the word or this word to and remember. Or you help them develop a certain skill, whether the skill of listening or the skill of speaking. And so these 3 things, nothing else. Of course, you can do such things as warm up, just fun activity, because people you need to get them going. You need to get them going. Or you just want to have fun again, like relax, guys. We've done a good job. Like let's relax. These activities are also possible. Oh, of course, you can test their knowledge. It also can be a part of the classroom activity. But all these activities shouldn't take too much time. Never. You meet them only twice a week, for example. You don't have much time just to waste doing fun activities. So you have to make sure that what you're doing, it either helps them to understand something, remember, or practice and develop a skill. So there is nothing else. So all the activities, real learning activities, they fall into one of these 3 categories. And to sum it up, basically what you do as a teacher, your main goal is not to teach, because you can't teach. Actually, this is something you should start with. I cannot teach. And this is the confession that I have to make, having taught English for 18 years, I understand. I cannot teach. There is nothing I can do to actually teach. No, I can only pretend that I can teach. And basically say, study or I will teach you now. So this is something I can do, and they get scared and they start studying. Or I can motivate them and inspire them and maybe give them some food to work with. But I cannot teach, so only students themselves can teach themselves. So I can only create the atmosphere in which it can be done, more or less effectively. So I cannot teach them, but I can give them food, and I have to think, always critically think whether it is actually food and it's useful or not. And that's why I don't really like I really scorn modern books, like textbooks, I mean, like Headway and everything. I use only texts from these books because, well, it's easy. You don't have to make them up. It takes time. But I never use any activities, or practically, hardly ever. I really think that they are bad. I really think that I, as a teacher, I know better what my students want, what they can. Even though these books were made by clever people, which I believe are better teachers than I am. I'm not going to doubt that. But the thing is that it's a mass product. The textbooks that they have made, it's a mass product, and it's business. It's multi-million business, and they just make a product that will be suitable for everyone, and it doesn't exist. It just simply doesn't exist. That's why any course that you can find, it's full of activities, any textbook that you can find, it's full of activities that are useless, that you can easily skip, because it's not good for your students. If you challenge it, you will understand it's empty. Don't do that. So you may, at the beginning of your teaching career, of course it'll be beneficial for you if you follow a book. It'll provide you with a certain structure, with a certain skeleton. It's not bad, but what I want you to do is to actually try to see whether it makes your students work or not. And you will understand that lots of things can be skipped, omitted, or done in a different way. Like this gap fill exercise, like why do it? Sometimes, not always, but sometimes there is no need to do that, because you do it, you forget it, and you'll never come back to it, and students will never remember what they had to learn in this one 10-sentence exercise. So, my main goal as a teacher is to make sure that my students strain their brains, to sum it up, in one way or another, in this way or another. And when they have this strain, like they try to understand and everything, when they sweat, I know that they're gonna learn. I don't know when, because this is something that I have to disappoint lots of people by. I have to acknowledge the fact that we're so different, and we learn in so many different ways, and it takes different